Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Segal SE19321 double cylinder deadbolt, brushed brass with a flat strike. Okay. So this is the business end of this lock. That's the lock body, and I'll tell you, it's quite heavy. The entire lock itself weighs over 2.5 pounds, and that's substantial for just a deadbolt. It's the back side. Okay. It's double cylinder because this is the inside of the door and has a key rather than a thumb turn. That makes it a double cylinder. It's assumed that you'll have a key on the outside. This makes it a double cylinder. Obviously non-handed, can be reversed over whatever hand of door you're doing. Okay. So I'm going to show you all the components. Here's the lock body. Let me put a tape measure on the lock body just so if you're not familiar with these locks, how large it is. It's 2 7/8 tall. An overall length of, let's do it from the back side, be a little bit easier, I think. About 4 9/16 overall length. Keys, typical Segal keyway, which you might know as an SE1. Okay, that's a lock body. The outside, you're going to have a cylinder. Same two keys are going to work it. Okay, it's a typical rim cylinder. Nice smooth action and operation on the cylinder. Features what they call a breakaway style tailpiece for a variety of different door thicknesses. You're going to get a trim ring for the cylinder as well. It's going to look like that. It's in a brass finish. Okay. You're going to get a backer plate for the cylinder, and I'll show you how that goes in a moment. Piece of stamped steel there. A flat strike. That's part and parcel of this part number. That means it's going to include a flat strike, which you know, would be for very commonly for in-swinging doors, of course. All right. Let's get a tape measure on this strike so you get an idea of how large it is. About 4 1/8 tall, about 1 1/16 or so wide. You're going to get, at this point, a lot of screws. That's all that's left. 2 screws for holding the cylinder on, the rim cylinder I should say. They're breakaway style as well. You're going to get several long screws. Four of them as a one-way type screw. Very effective way from keeping people from backing them out. Okay. You'll get 4 other standard screws that are equally as long. Then you're going to get 6 short screws like this. Okay. Those are going to be for holding the strike plate on. 6 seems to be a bit overkill, but nonetheless, that's what you're getting. So at this point, that covers all the components. This is a clamshell packaging, and this is what clamshell means. This is what it ships in. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see where the 6 screws is for. Now, there is a link below this video to the instructions. Instructions might be intimidating. They're not. I'm going to give you the summary or cliff notes of these instructions. First of all, the bottom line is steps 1 and 2, and while I'm not going to read these verbatim, it'll be expected that you're going to read them. But steps 1 and 2 are basically telling you, get the template on the door, okay, for either hand of door, and this vertical dashed line is where you align the template to the edge of the door. Cut the appropriate installation template and tape it to the inside of the door at the desired height of the lock. Typical deadbolt preparations are at 48 inches above the floor. It can be whatever you like it to be, but that's somewhat standard. The template will attach to the edge of the door. Take care to position the template properly, aligned to the door, to the edge of the door, not the frame. It's got to be that vertical dashed line has to go to the edge of the door. Not, there's a margin between the frame and the door that goes to the door. Make sure that it's straight. It's plumb and it's level. Okay. Place the point. Okay, step 2 is basically saying once you've got the template on the door, you're going to use a center punch. Irwin, a variety of companies make center punches, and you're going to locate your holes with a center punch. And those are the holes that they want you to locate, these 4 that are drawn there. So step 2, we've got those 4 holes marked. But before you go removing the template from the door, you've got 4 holes. You also want to mark the hole for the 1 3/8 crossbore through the door. So there's a total of 5 holes that you're going to mark. Okay. At that point, remove the template from the door. Then you're going to drill your 1 3/8 hole through the door. And then you're going to drill your 4 holes with an 1/8 inch bit, 3/4 inch deep. That's what they want from you at that point. Then you're on the last page, you're in the home stretch. Step 5 is to prepare the cylinder, the length of the tailpiece. Step 5, 6, and 7 involve installing and preparing and installing the rim cylinder from the outside, obviously. Cut the tailpiece to length. You'll have to determine what that's going to be best for you. Well, measure the thickness of the door and using pliers break off the 2 connecting screws and tailpiece on the back of the cylinder to the appropriate length. What they're saying is don't cut it too short. Now, every time that I do this, because they never give you how long you need to do it, I get this through the door, and then I come in with my body here, and I basically get the tailpiece into that housing, like that, and that's as far as it'll go. So this distance from here to here is what you got to work with. And that tailpiece goes in the lock, a 1/2 inch or something in that range. So you're going to want to make sure that you're probably going to cut it to the first graduation for sure, but you want to confirm that. I've not actually measured that. You don't want to take a plier and just try to snap it. You're going to want to very carefully cut it off because that's just how you're supposed to do that. Once you've got the tailpiece correctly attached or cut to length, attach it to the door, and that means this is going to go through the door, okay? And you're going to hold it on with the backing plate here, such that it's going to look like that, okay? The 2 holes here is where you use the 2 screws, provided those zinc ones I showed you earlier. They go here, so you're going to look like this, okay? Cut them off to suit. Now you've got that inside cylinder, the exterior rim cylinder attached. At that point, you're going to attach the lock body to the door right over this backing plate. You're going to go right over it, okay? So it's basically going to go like this. That's what it's kind of going to look like, okay? Now we're at step 9, bottom of the page, really in the home stretch. Holding the lock in place, operate the lock from both the inside and outside to ensure smooth operation. If binding is encountered, recheck the thickness of the door and the length of the tailpiece. Retrim the tailpiece if necessary. So they're saying that if this is too long, it's going to bottom out to the inside of the lock body, and when you turn the key, it's not going to be able to turn freely. That's only one potential problem. The tailpiece must be laser beam straight. There's not a lot of play in this tailpiece at all, but if this is not straight at all and you're trying to turn it, the tailpiece is actually trying to make an oblong sort of path through its axis of pivoting, and that will make it not operate smoothly either. So all the holes have to be drilled straight, drilled correctly for you to ensure that you've got a good situation there. Now step 10. Using the 4 2-inch mounting screws and a screwdriver, attach the deadbolt to the inside of the door using the 4 small mounting holes drilled earlier. Those 4 holes that you drilled over here, 3/4 deep, you're good to go on that. Set the lock strike in place and set the step 11. Set the lock strike in place and set the lock in the locked position. If an angle strike is being used, it must be mortised, but this lock again features the flat strike only. Make sure there's no interference, etc., etc. Mark the position of the strike, and then basically attach it. Mortise it if necessary. Attach the strike to the frame. At that point, you're done. Now, if I mentioned earlier that they give you these 4 one-way screws, you're really only going to want to use those if you have a substantial reason to be concerned with having these slotted screws accessible. These one-way screws will not come out. They won't come out, not without taking extreme measures of drilling the head, etc. If you feel that it might be tampered with for whatever reason, or if the installation of this is such that someone could get to the lock body and remove the screws to get in, you're going to want to do something about that, is the bottom line. However, keep in mind that if you ever had to service the lock, it would not be an insignificant amount of work to get those off. I've put these in the wrong location and found that, oh wow, those one-way screws really work. That concludes everything necessary, I think, to talk about the lock, with the exception to say that Segal is owned by Primeline. Primeline has the entire Segal line available in terms of variations of single cylinder, double cylinder, different finishes, different varieties of strike plates. Okay, all very good, high quality material. Segal deadbolts are very, common. They're very popular. They're very well liked by a lot of people because they're extremely effective, and they've been around for decades, several decades. And I've seen them installed and in use for several decades as well. If you have any questions on the Segal SE19321 double cylinder deadbolt or any other Segal product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.